And we are live. Hello, everyone. Pleasure to have you today for our panel on blockchain gaming on Oasis Protocol. Very happy to have you today. The objective is really simple. What we try to do from the several weeks is to try to understand why developing a blockchain games on a specific platform protocol. We had the chance to do one with Avalanche, one as well with Tezos. I think it was 2 weeks ago. So now it's gonna be Oasis on Oasis Protocol. So we have a very cool audience, very cool speakers as well today. So it's gonna be a very interesting panel that we will be able to have today. And I think at first I will let William, Leon, Aristotle, and Johnny to introduce themselves and the different companies they have, because it's a broad speakers to cover every aspect, not only the technical aspect, but also the game itself. So yeah, please, William, if you can introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Will. I'm from the Oasis Protocol Foundation. My role there is as ecosystem growth manager. And so I focus a lot on the strategy, working between all our different teams, BD, community marketing, and helping to grow the ecosystem in all the various sectors. So DeFi, gaming, as our topic is today, as well as other things like NFTs. So that's a little bit of background on me.
Awesome, thank you. Leon, if you can do the same.
Hello, everyone. My name's Leon. I founded a company called Web3.Unity a couple years ago, which connected game engines to the blockchain. And I use that tool to build these games. I've been exploring with Oasis because their protocol is quite cool. And I built a game called BlockyStack, which is a stacking game. And each color is an NFT. I'll get more into that in detail. But yeah, that's what I do.
I was mute. So thank you very much, Leon. So the team from the Garlies as well, blockchain games, he's here today. So Johnny, Aristotle, if you can introduce yourself.
Nice to meet you, everyone. Well, my name is Aristotle, and I'm one of the founder and the creative storyteller of the Garlies. The Garly is a play-to-earn on the Oasis blockchain. It's a RPG-like play-to-earn. It's inspired by a role-playing tabletop role-playing game, and also choose your own adventures books. So it's already kind of a RPG style play-to-earn. I strongly invite you to go on the website if you want more info. And I'm the one writing down the story for the team.
So okay, I'm Johnny Garlyday. So I'm also one of the founder of the Garlies project. So in the team, I'm the lead developer. So I do the full stack development and the blockchain development. So that's that. Aristotle already presented the project. So that's it for me.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone, and nice to meet you.
Yeah, thank you very much, both of you. And actually, starting with the simple questions, we know you have a strong communities in the world. I know that we have a specific communities in France as well for Oasis, so it's pretty cool to see that. But for those who don't know Oasis Protocol, Oasis Foundations, William, could you introduce the foundation for us and the protocol as well?
Yeah, I'm absolutely happy to do that. So Oasis is a layer one blockchain that was, I guess, founded in 2018. We eventually went live November of last year, or no, 2 years ago. And so the interesting thing about Oasis is that the architecture is separated into consensus and execution. So it's extremely modular in the sense that we have these parallel runtimes, what we call Paratimes, that can be customized in really any way you can think of, so that you can get as performant as you would like with your individual blockchains or runtimes. And so right now, the one Paratime that we're talking about is Emerald. It's a EVM compatible runtime, where essentially anything from any other EVM, such as like MetaMask, block explorers, things like this, can all just be ported over. Any developer can take their code from any other EVM and bring it right to Oasis, and it has Pretty great performance in terms of the block times are roughly 6 seconds. The gas costs are fractions of a penny, and yeah, we believe it's pretty competitive with any other EVM.
Yeah, we're gonna go. I think deep on that subject maybe right now. I don't know if Leon, you want to add something about the Emerald Paratime and the all the different benefits that you could have. You mentioned some of them, William, but with your experience building, what could you say about this Emerald Paratime?
Yeah, I can jump in. So, yeah, well, I built on Emerald, which is even compatible. But the next step is, there are more paratimes. So there are ones privacy based, for example. So it really depends on what you're trying to build, which is great. So if you're just into EVM, you can start off with that. But in the future, if you're trying to build more privacy focused games or products or dApps, there's like a really good entry point to jump from one paratime to the next. It's great.
Okay, awesome. Um, to maybe we'll go deep on the technical aspect. I don't know if as well how you try to. How did you decide on using Oasis Protocol, Johnny, for the games? How was your decision process, knowing what Oasis can do?
Yes, so there was a lot of candidates on so we asked ourselves what makes a good blockchain for the play to earn games. So Oasis was a perfect candidate because it is the block time is very quick. It is EVM compatible. It has a great scalability, so it has a low cost of transaction. So all the factors were there for to make it really good for play to earn games. And we contact the team at Oasis, and they respond us with great answers to our questions. So yes, we decided to build on Oasis, and we don't regret our choice.
Yeah, in a less technical side, also one of the reasons we went there is also the contact we've got with you guys, William, and the feeling we've got, and that was really a really good feeling. We are kind of they are helping us in the day to day. So if we have any question, we can just go to them and they answer really quickly. So it really feel like we are not alone in this venture, and that was also one of the big reasons we went there.
Well, actually, that's a good point. I know that we see that on other chains, but not every chain. The for developers and especially in the Web3 for gaming, it's really important to be onboarded about this new technology arriving and trying to develop something new based on that. And having the support of the chains on the protocol is really important. So, what could you say to that? Even if we just had some testimonials about it. But William, how do you see that the level of the willingness to participate and to help the different dev teams to support their games on Oasis? How does it work?
Yeah, so we have like a few different, I guess, initiatives to help developers. We have our grants program, which is I guess provides funding support for developers who maybe don't need as much hands-on help. But then we also have we had recently launched our MetaMind Accelerator and our DApp Radar Accelerator, and these accelerators are done so that products that maybe have a cool idea, or they have a developer team but need help with tokenomics or whatever the help they need. They have like modules and support for any of the questions they might have. And so I think Garlies is in our DApp Radar Accelerator. We're very proud to have him there. And so yeah, that's a great initiative that we've started. And additionally, there's any developer who needs help with any aspects of Oasis, whether it's Emerald or it's Cypher or it's any of our other paratimes, they can always come into our Discord. I know our engineers are happy to answer questions. And so, yeah, I'd encourage anyone who's trying to build on Oasis to be friendly, reach out, because we love to help our developers.
Yeah, I know it's pretty clear. I'll actually also, if you want, if the audience has any question to ask to the speakers, there obviously I will be able to address them. to the speakers. So don't feel free to ask anything on the chat, and I will try to ask the speakers to answer it. And Leon, keeping on this willingness of collaboration, how could you describe your own experience with the Oasis team in terms of helping you to develop something on Oasis?
Yeah, definitely. So first thing I did was visit the website. Really technical. So I figured, okay, this is cool. But I think the real value is the community. So I joined the Discord, listened around a lot, didn't do much participating. But over time, I realized, okay, there's a lot of smart people in here. People are willing to help. And that's when I realized, okay, the community is really good. And that's when I started building. I didn't build immediately. I just wanted to see, feel how the community was. And yeah, you'd be very surprised. Like, join the Discord. There's a lot of activity. There's a lot of helpfulness. Yeah, tons of lead engineers willing to help. It's great.
Great, thank you. Coming back to you, actually, William, you mentioned the grant program. Could you tell us more about what it is exactly? I know that you need to be eligible, obviously, to have the opportunity to be on the program. What kind of um, box you need to check in order to be eligible?
Yeah, that's a good question. So our grants program is provides funding from anywhere from like 5,000 to 50,000 US dollars. So we, depending on each, I guess, quarter, we set out different focuses for our grants program. Currently, our grants program is focused, as you might guess, on play to earn gaming, as well as some upcoming initiatives in the private gaming and private DeFi spaces. So if any of that sounds interesting, definitely reach out. Candidates that are interested should definitely apply. We're looking for products with a cohesive idea, which have teammates, a well-rounded team. So the team should not just be developers. It should not just be entrepreneurs, but it should really be a business arm, a developing arm, as Aristotle and Johnny from Garlies. They have sort of the whole team there, and then they should really be able to explain their idea coherently and also be able to explain like why the amount of funding they're asking for is necessary, and that that will take them all the way from where they are right now to a minimum viable product, an MVP, and so that I guess we can really get a whole picture of what the grant and what that product will look like. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, thank you for that. And actually, we will put the whole process of what we're doing in the BGA is obviously to capitalize on your big expertise about what we can say about on Oasis Protocol, and what we will do is obviously to publish something afterwards for our members to have a view about what does it mean to build a blockchain game on Oasis. So we're going to give some links that we have in order to be onboarding in the different activities that you have from Oasis. And to jump on, so we had this technical overview, so thank you guys for that, but if we enter more like some why question, why should games be built on the blockchain? What's your take on that? Maybe Leon, if you can start with that.
Yeah, so there are a couple things. One is ownership, right? So just transferring it between one person to the other. That's a pretty standard one. The one that I'm interested in is like on-chain state. So for example, like a tic-tac-toe game, where you can keep track of that state and really explore that way in a trustless manner. Yeah, that's what I'm interested in. So yeah, one is ownership. I think that's what people are really pushing towards. That's like maybe play to earn, but also like the whole idea of like having the whole game on state, which is quite interesting.
Yeah. Johnny, Aristotle, what's your thinking on that?
Well, obviously, also ownership is something very, very important, but also as a let's say a game entrepreneur aspect, something that really touched me in blockchain is that, let's say that everyone is able to at least present an idea, create an MVP, and help and fundraise and develop the game through the community if the community do like it. So I think it's really an opportunity for small studio or small game developer to create game and to bring them to the public. And if you do not use the blockchain, perhaps you will need a huge gaming studio or another way that will be, I think, much harder. And the fact that you use blockchain, you cut all the middlemen and you directly go ask the community and say, okay, so that's my ID, that's my MVP. Do you like it or not? If yes, perhaps we can fundraise some money through minting or some other stuff and develop the game. And I think it's a real game changer.
Awesome. Uh, yeah, William, you wanted to.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say I think there's like three main components for why you might choose Web3 blockchain to build gaming. The first is like integrity. I think gaming is becoming extraordinarily popular, and depending on the size of the game, there's certain levels of trust and integrity that you want to have, whether they're random in-game events or you just want to know that the game is running according to some set of rules that can't be manipulated. I think that those are going to become increasingly valuable to gaming companies, especially when, like, in the past we've seen things like loot boxes and stuff claim certain percent win rates, and then clearly that's not true. And yeah, these can be pretty costly, especially at the rate that gaming is growing. The other one I think is composability. So one of the cool things about blockchain is that what we saw from DeFi is this composability, and one of the things I'm really excited about is gaming composability. So you can build items in your game that maybe are NFTs from a different game, but you want to leverage that community in your game as well, or maybe you want to create like almost like a secondary storyline to another game. You don't have to ask permission from the original game. You can just take those items and build on them without any sort of licensing or anything like that it comes with traditional gaming. And I think that's really powerful. It causes like fast iteration very quickly. You can build out a very large gaming ecosystem. And then a third is like reach, which I think was what Aristotle and Johnny were talking about, which is the idea that you can reach a large amount of users pretty easily through the blockchain, and then you can also raise pretty easily. It's not the it's sort of like a GoFundMe as well as a social media platform, as well as a gaming platform. It's like you can do all these things at one time in like a pretty logical way, which is through like NFT sales, in-game token sales, stuff like that.
Yeah, actually, you mentioned two interesting things, which are storytelling and community for blockchain games. And actually, this is a question I have for the Garlies for the games, because it's an interesting type of game that you're building, which means you have one story, but this is your story based on your decision in the game. So it's really not something that we kind of see of the blockchain game that we're seeing in the landscape today. So why this type of games, and why blockchain makes so much sense to be integrating in this type of game?
My mic was mute. Well, the reason we choose to develop those kind of games, as you say, there is no such game at the moment on the blockchain landscape. And me, as a former creative in the advertising, I really do like originality, and I didn't want to do something that was a fork of Axis or something else. We wanted to create something new. We're like, okay, blockchain and NFT are pretty interesting technology. Let's build something, but something unique. So that's why we've come up with the Garlies concept. That is something. Well, the fact that you can choose your story and that the story is evolving is not new. We did not invent this, but the fact that we're creating a whole world with it, it's kind of unique, and so that's the why. That's the why we didn't want to be like anything else. Why blockchain is also, as I mentioned earlier, the fact that through blockchain you are able to fundraise money through the community, and you're able to touch a wide audience. For us, we are a small team and we are still young, let's say that. So making this game off blockchain will have been a complete different story. We would have to go through a gaming studio, and that would have been a really, really long road. And just going through the blockchain and just doing it, just cut all those middlemen, and just we are able to deliver a game directly to the community, and the community do like it. So I think we are at the moment doing a good job.
So how do you integrate the blockchain? How do you want to integrate the blockchain in the game? I have the chance to play the games because you make it possible for everyone in the websites to test it, to have
Hmm.
a wide idea about what it will be. But for the blockchain, will it be every kind of any opportunities to say something, to choose to have a specific action in the game will be on the blockchain, or you want to add it in the specific things?
Actually, I can answer that question. So, what is on the blockchain? So, our game is RPG based. So, in our game, you have items, for example, armors, weapons, potions, etc. So, all of these items are NFTs actually. So you can trade them to other player. You can also equip your Garly with these items. Actually, you can move on the open world in the world of the Garlies, and the state of each player is not saved directly on the blockchain, but on a server. What is saved on the blockchain is actually the ownership of the NFTs, so the items, etc. So we mainly use the blockchain to trade to make the ownership of items, to make easy the transactions of these items, etc.
No, it's pretty clear. Thank you very much. Coming back to maybe a more technical point of view, I don't know if William or Leon you want to take that one, but what level of customization Paratimes is able to do? You precise that it really depends on if it's a blockchain game or it could be anything other related to how to use the blockchain. But I understood that the level of customization for Paratimes is very hard. Could you explain how?
Yeah, happy to answer that. So I know we went over it briefly in the beginning, but essentially, Paratimes are each their own sort of roll up, similar to like an Arbitrum or ZK Sync or anything like that. But each because of how Oasis does consensus and execution separation, consensus is really focused on just consensus and just verification of these Paratimes. And so this allows for a very, very versatile structure, and that is extremely, I would say, more modular than most of these sort of solutions to build this type of system. And so what it allows us to do is build things like our Cypher Paratime. Our Cypher Paratime is a Rust or WebAssembly based Paratime for confidential smart contracts. We have our Sapphire Paratime that was recently announced. It's the same idea. It's a Solidity based smart contract platform for confidential smart contracts. And then it allows us to Parcel, which is a data governance tool. And it's probably unlike any sort of roll up or any sort of blockchain anyone else has seen. It really allows people to upload their data in a confidential way, and then set permissions on that data and how other people can use them, and then also like minting NFTs of confidential data and stuff like that. So as you can see, it really you're able to iterate very quickly with these Paratimes, and then also build things that are pretty unique. I think we've in like the Ethereum landscape and things like this, they've been trying to build rollups for a pretty long time, but we find that there's a lot of technical debt when dealing with Ethereum that it's hard to sort of make these rollups work. And we think that on Oasis, it should be a much simpler process, and also probably more versatile.
Awesome. Thank you very much, William. Leon, I wanted to ask you what kind of challenges you are facing right now with BlockyStack. I don't know if it could be not related to the state of the market. I guess we don't care. You are building anyway something since a long time. But what are the challenges that you are facing with BlockyStack, and how Oasis is helping?
Yeah, I would say there's obviously the technical side, but the tricky part is we're in this. There's the Web3 side and there's the Web2 gaming side, right? The tricky part is like we're kind of sitting in the middle. So, who do you pull? Do you pull Web2 gamers into the space, or do you pull Web3 gamers into the space? So that whole exploration of like, is this game targeted towards more Web3 native or Web2 native people, has been tricky. I think the Garlies, so as I, have built a game somewhere in the middle where you can play with or without crypto. So when you log in, you can either sign in with your MetaMask or sign in with your wallet, pull in your NFTs. But if you don't have any of that, you can play the game, without any crypto. So that's what I've been exploring. It's like right now it's very neutral. Right now is exploring which side do I go to.
Awesome. And what about you for the Garlies? What kind of challenges you are facing? Are you facing the same the same challenges? Try to find out if you want to focus on the Web3 players on Web2. I guess both, but yeah.
Yes, indeed, that's a pretty interesting challenge. That at the moment we also know that Web2 gamers are not really a huge fan of Web3 game. So yeah, we would love, especially to attract both of them. That's why we kind of made a game that people can. I mean, we could launch this game on Steam, let's say, and that people will still be able to play it because there is a real gameplay behind it, and it's not just about NFT. But obviously, the Web3 aspect is really, really interesting, and that's why we decided to stay on the blockchain and perhaps bring some Web2 player in it through gameplay.
Yeah, actually, we had a panel last week with Monkey Link and other speakers of the BGA talking about guilds and partnership with blockchain games. And um, we the Monkey League was saying that you just need to make sure that if as a player you don't have any money, you if you don't have any money, you just want to play the game again. It doesn't mean that you haven't money that you want to play the game. You really need to focus on the gameplay and not the fact that it's going to be a blockchain game. So it makes a lot of sense to focus on that aspect for sure. And yeah, I think I heard that you recently launched confidential NFTs. Confidential, sorry for my French accents. Confidential NFTs. William, could you tell us a few things about that? Are there any applications for gaming?
Yeah, absolutely. Confidential NFTs, we think, are going to be pretty interesting in how they work with games. But for everyone's information, confidential NFTs are essentially NFTs that have a public component. So it could be like the picture, a JPEG, something like that. But then there's also a component that is stored in our data governance tool, which I mentioned previously, which is Parcel, and that only the owner of that NFT is able to access. So something along the lines of we had an NFT collection called Bishop's NFTs collection. He generated artwork based off of mathematical formulas, and so the JPEG, the picture, was the part that was public and was able to be seen by everyone. But then only the owner of that JPEG was given the mathematical formula that allowed them to generate that artwork, as well as the ability to generate that artwork in the future. That's just like an initial proof of concept for them, but there's other really interesting ways that they can be used, we think. For example, you can set permissions, like you can maybe share or rent data that's stored in these confidential NFTs. And then in gaming, we've seen interest originally from projects that maybe want to create like an item in game, but then keep the stats or keep some lore about that item off chain so that only the owner can see those stats or see what the lore was behind that item. There's also a really cool project that was built by one of our ambassadors that's launching soon, and that's like an NFT. But behind the NFT is also clues to like a treasure hunt or a treasure map, and so that if you collect a certain amount of NFTs or the right NFTs, you get like the clues that you can find eventually some treasure at the end, whether that's financial reward or in-game items or something. We think that these are going to be like sort of really cool use cases for gaming in the future. And they solve a problem that I think exists right now with blockchain, with public, um, with games being entirely public on blockchains, is that like anyone can see everything. Like if you can, if an item has been minted, you can see all the data about that item because it's all public on chain. And then if you want to remove that aspect, then you have to take things off chain. And both of those solutions are sort of not ideal. So what's really cool about confidential NFTs is it allows things to remain on chain, but gain some sort of confidential aspects to them.
Awesome. Thank you very much, William. And as I'm seeing a lot of questions in the chat, I will try to address to everyone, starting with, I think with you, Johnny or Aristotle. Let me just display it on the chat, which is from Dan Favor. I'm just thinking if the game can be incorporated into a virtual reality, just like CryptoVoxels. I don't know if you have a take on that, if you want to share anything.
Yes, I think it could be achieved, but it will be way, way harder than it is now. One strong aspect of the Garly and the fact that we are able to build that much quest is the fact that the drawing are pretty simple. It's just a 2D game, so our game designer is just able to design as many quests as possible. And if we want to do in a virtuality game as CryptoVoxel and being able to move everywhere, that will take way, way more time.
Mm. And actually, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Actually, I just saw another question related to the confidential NFT that William, you just mentioned, which is this one. Still for you, Johnny or Aristotle, will Garly's consider featuring confidential NFTs? And I guess it's also a question for Leon, if you want, if you have any take on that.
Yes, so actually we don't have any use for such confidential NFTs, but it will be very interesting to think about what we can do with such confidentiality. And yes, right now there is no problem that every metadata are public, and it's good like that. But we could think of another mini game that is based on the confidential NFTs.
Yeah. What? Yeah. Please, Leon.
Sure. Same thing, no confidential NFT. Quite the opposite. So what William said before of making it composable, the idea is to have like a very simple contract, at least for BlockyStack, where people can pull these NFTs into their own minigame. So this is just one minigame. There will be more in the future. The way that it's set up is quite straightforward. So that's the goal.
Okay, great. I just saw that someone Meredith, the high score on BlockyStack is 56. Is it good or is it not so good?
I've seen scores in the hundreds. It's crazy.
Yeah. And someone also asked if you are doing tournaments on Discord, and maybe you have also taken any opinion about where you would like to lead BlockyStack in terms of esports, in terms of just playing the game online.
Yeah, when we launched, it was just for fun, but I realized very quickly it became quite competitive. People were taking screenshots and uploading their score. So there's definitely a competitive side, especially when these games are small. You can play this for maybe a couple minutes. Yeah, that's another insight I realized. Okay, these games are, because they're mini games, people can get started really quick and find like a niche in terms of competitive play. The idea is to, like for example, with this game, the idea is to map token IDs to colors. So I can geek out about that later. So the next step is to explore, okay, what can you do with these types of games? Instead of colors, what can you combine the colors? Can you add the colors together? Those types of things. So each mini game can be a focus on what can crypto do in terms of enhancing the game.
Okay, great. And maybe as the final question, I would like to ask any one of you. Maybe this question is really biased, but I guess I'm going to start with William. What kind of Web3 game you are playing right now?
Web3 game.
Yes.
So I've actually been I tried out all of the games so far. I tried out the Garlies minigame and demo. I tried out BlockyStack. We have another project called RuneGuard coming out soon. So right now I've been in I guess you could say exploration mode. I'm trying out all the Oasis ecosystem games. Um, but yeah, in the past I've played Axie Infinity. I've played DeFi Kingdom. Um, I still think that kind of what we talked about earlier. Um, there's games are still looking for that right balance of Web3 component, the play to earn, how much it is about making money, and then also just like being fun to play in general, being something that even if you're not making money, you would enjoy playing. So that's really the balance that I'm looking for in a game right now. And I think some of our Oasis ecosystem partners have a good chance of finding that right balance.
Great. What about you, Leon?
I'm a big fan of DFK, but also low key, I played the Garlies like a couple weeks ago, like the demo. So I'm really excited to. I've died so many times, but I've tried every path basically, and yeah, I love those types of games. So what I do is I try to play these games and try to reverse engineer. I don't know. I just have an engineering brain and reverse engineer everything. So lately, I've been playing a lot of like idle games. So idle games is based off of time. So I've been reverse engineering that and realizing, oh, this can be like a crypto game where the block hash or not the block hash, the block height can be your time, right? And then you can acquire points that way. So a lot of it has been thinking, here's a Web2 game, how do you port it into Web3? That type of mentality.
Yeah, and depending on the type of games, Web2 games that you have and you are facing to, it could mean a specific way of using the blockchain. You don't have to use the blockchain for it for all the type of games you have to choose. And I guess this is a strategy that you have yourself, so it makes a lot of sense. I didn't know about that one. Depending on the time you spend, so it's pretty interesting to see how it will work actually. And for you, Johnny Aristotle, I died maybe 3 times before entering the gate in the Garlies. But for you, what kind of blockchain game do you play?
Yeah, we've released maybe a harder demo that we think it will be. So for me, until last year, I was a big fan of Web2 games. I play Web2 games since my childhood. But a big problem in Web2 game actually is the monetization. It's getting there are a lot of dramas nowadays about it, and I think that Web3 has some feature that could resolve these problems. So for now, I'm really on the Web3 games. So I'm developing the Garlies, but I also time to play like classical Web3 games like Voxys and etc. And yeah, it's a good time. I don't know for Aristotle.
Well, I don't have a lot of time to play a video game since you are really focusing on the development of the development of the main game. So not a lot of time. But before I was mostly playing with the Fire Kingdom and also Axis Infinity. The fact that what I did like with Axis Infinity is that it could have been a Web 2 game because the gameplay was and it still is pretty interesting. Let's say that. But yeah, that's the one. Most of the game I was playing right now, I'm really focusing on the storytelling and the quest of the Garly.
Yeah, I can guess. Yeah, so thank you very much, all of you, for participating to the talk, to these panels. It was very interesting to have this technical aspect of building a blockchain game on Oasis. Um, why you as a game, so with Leon and with the Garlies team, you decide to build a game on Oasis. Was pretty interesting to have your feedback as well. Also with the community of Oasis and how they helped you. And William, thank you for the technical part of the different aspects of the Oasis protocol. So thank you very much, guys, for participating, and I see you very soon. Have a good time.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you for having us.
Yes.
See you.
Thanks,
Bye
everyone.
Thank you
bye.
very much.
And
Bye.
just before we go, I just want to say anyone who's interested in gaming on Oasis, please check out our Discord, our Reddit. we have lots of conversations there around different products that are coming out, and we'd love to engage with you in the community.
Awesome. Thank you very much, William. Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Have a good day. Bye.